Human Deathworlders arrive after alien. SOS, third document. The Kythera fleet closed distance with predatory precision, their ships spread in a formation designed to prevent any chance of escape. War Master Sektar commanded from the bridge of his flagship, Soul Render, a massive dreadnought that had participated in the destruction of 17 civilizations over the past 3 centuries. "Target the human vessel's engines first," Sektar ordered his weapons master. "I want them crippled, but not destroyed. The Deathworlders will watch their precious civilians die slowly before we grant them the mercy of death." But as the Kythera ships closed to weapons range, something unexpected appeared on their sensors. The human destroyer, rather than attempting to flee or positioning itself defensively, was accelerating directly toward the center of their formation. "War Master," reported the tactical officer, his voice uncertain. "The human ship appears to be charging our position." Sektar's multiple eyes focused on the tactical display. The Retribution was indeed accelerating toward them, but its weapons remained dark. "They seek a glorious death in battle. Pathetic. Open fire on my command." Aboard the Retribution, Captain Chen watched the range counter tick down as her ship raced toward certain destruction. But she wasn't watching the Kythera fleet. She was watching the chronometer on her command console, counting down the seconds until a very special timer reached 0. "Ma'am," reported Chief Rodriguez over the comm, "all non-essential personnel have been evacuated to the Peaceful Dawn. Engineering crew is standing by for your orders." "Thank you, Chief. All hands, brace for emergency maneuvers." At precisely the moment Chen had calculated, 37 new contacts dropped out of hyperspace directly behind the Kythera formation. But these weren't reinforcements. They were something far worse for the raiders. "War Master!" screamed the Kythera sensor operator. "Multiple hyperspace emergencies! Unknown ships approaching from our rear!" Sektar spun toward the tactical display and felt something he had never experienced in 200 years of warfare: fear. The ships emerging from hyperspace bore the insignia of the Galactic Defense Coalition, a mutual defense pact that included over 40 species from across the galaxy. At the head of the fleet was the GCS Unity, a massive battlecruiser commanded by Admiral Corvesh of the Altarian Republic. Flanking it were ships from a dozen different species: the crystalline vessels of the Zilani Defense Force, the organic bioships of the Verdanian Collective, and the geometric perfection of Centauri Federation dreadnoughts. But what made Sektar's blood turn cold wasn't the size of the fleet. It was the lead ship. The Unity was broadcasting human tactical frequencies, and its weapons signatures matched Earth technology. "This is Admiral Corvesh of the Coalition Defense Fleet," came the transmission across all frequencies. "Kythera vessels, you are in violation of the Galactic Non-Aggression Pact and are hereby ordered to surrender immediately." Sektar's mind raced. The Coalition had never responded this quickly to a raid before. How had they assembled a fleet this size without his intelligence network detecting it? The answer came from an unexpected source. Fleet Commander Veltar of the Peaceful Dawn opened a channel to the Kythera flagship. "War Master Sektar, this is Commander Veltar. Perhaps you were unaware that my ship carries the Crown Princess Ashale and 47 members of the Zilani Royal Academy. When we sent our distress call, it was not merely a plea for help. It was a formal invocation of the Coalition Defense Treaty." Sektar's tactical display suddenly made terrifying sense. Every ship in the Coalition fleet was armed with weapons designed or improved by human engineers. The galaxy's peaceful species had learned to defend themselves by adopting human military technology and doctrine. "Moreover," Veltar continued, "Captain Chen's actions in responding to our distress call have been broadcast to every Coalition world. Her crew's willingness to sacrifice themselves to save our civilians has inspired the largest coordinated military response in Coalition history." Admiral Corvesh's voice cut across the channel. War Master, you now face the combined might of 42 worlds united in defense of peaceful exploration and civilian protection. This is your final warning. For the first time in Kythera military history, a war fleet found itself outgunned and outnumbered. Sektar stared at his tactical display, counting 63 coalition warships against his 37 raiders. Worse, many of those coalition vessels mounted the dreaded human kinetic penetrators that had destroyed his advanced scouts. But War Master Sektar hadn't earned his rank by surrendering to superior odds. All ships, attack formation. We'll show these soft species what Kythera warriors do to their enemies. The battle that followed lasted exactly 17 minutes and became known throughout the galaxy as the Kepler Massacre, not because of the casualties among the coalition forces, but because of what happened to the Kythera fleet. Human tactical doctrine had revolutionized space warfare by focusing on overwhelming firepower delivered with surgical precision. The coalition fleet opened fire in coordinated volleys that lit up the darkness of space like a violent sunrise. Kinetic penetrators, traveling at relativistic speeds, punched through Kythera armor as if it were made of paper, while plasma cannons and missile barrages overwhelmed their point defenses. Captain Chen watched from the bridge of the Retribution as the Kythera formation disintegrated under the coalition assault. Her communications officer was coordinating with Admiral Corvesh's tactical team, providing real-time intelligence on Kythera ship capabilities and weaknesses. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Webb, "Admiral Corvesh is requesting permission to come aboard. He wants to meet the woman who started a galactic war." Chen raised an eyebrow. "I started a galactic war?" "Ma'am, according to the Admiral, your decision to defend the peaceful dawn triggered automatic coalition defense protocols. When you engaged the first Kythera raider, it was legally considered an attack on a coalition protectorate. Every member species was obligated to respond." Chen stared at the tactical display where the last Kythera ships were either surrendering or being systematically destroyed by coalition forces. "I was just trying to save some civilians." "Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what impressed them." An hour later, Chen found herself in the Peaceful Dawn's main conference room, surrounded by representatives from dozens of species. Admiral Corvesh was a towering Altarian with blue-scaled skin and 4 arms, each of which seemed to move independently as he gestured while speaking. "Captain Chen," Corvesh began, his translator rendering his words in perfect English. "Your actions have fundamentally changed the balance of power in this sector. The Kythera have raided civilian targets for centuries because they knew individual species lacked the will or capability to stop them. With respect, Admiral, I didn't change anything. I just responded to a distress call." "Precisely." This came from Ambassador Thelvar, a Centauri Federation diplomat whose geometric features somehow managed to convey enthusiasm. "For the first time, a military vessel sacrificed tactical advantage to protect civilians of another species. Your crew disabled your own weapons to maintain life support for strangers." Fleet Commander Veltar leaned forward from across the conference table. "Captain, you must understand what this means to species like mine. We have always believed that civilization was defined by choosing compassion over survival. Your humans proved that a warrior species could embody that same principle." Chen looked around the table at the assembled alien diplomats and military officers, all of whom were staring at her with expressions ranging from admiration to awe. "I still don't understand what the big deal is. Any decent person would have done the same thing." "But that's exactly the point," Admiral Corvesh replied. "Most species consider themselves decent, but when faced with impossible odds, they choose survival over principle. Your crew chose principle over survival, and that choice saved 46,000 lives while simultaneously ending the Kythera threat permanently." Ambassador Thelvar activated a holographic display showing star charts of the local sector. The surviving Kythera ships have requested asylum with the Coalition in exchange for information about other raider fleets. Their military power has been broken, and their survivors want to abandon their predatory culture. More importantly, added Veltar, Princess Ashale has formally proposed that the Coalition establish a joint military academy on the human homeworld. She believes that other species need to learn from human tactical innovation and moral philosophy. Chen felt a chill run down her spine. You want to turn Earth into a military training center? Not just military, Corvesh corrected. We want to learn how your species combines warrior efficiency with protective instincts, how you balance the capacity for violence with unwavering compassion. The conference continued for several hours. But Chen's mind kept returning to her bridge crew, who were currently working alongside Zalani engineers to repair both ships. They had faced impossible odds without complaint, risked everything for strangers, and somehow managed to trigger a galaxy-wide shift in military doctrine. When the formal meetings ended, Chen found herself alone on the observation deck with Princess Ashale, a young Zalani noble whose large eyes held wisdom far beyond her apparent age. "Captain Chen," the princess said in her musical voice, "I wanted to thank you personally for what you and your crew have done." "Your Highness, we were just doing our job." "No," Ashale replied firmly. "Your job was to eliminate the raiders threatening our ship. Instead, you chose to risk everything to save our lives. That choice will echo across the galaxy for generations." Chen stared out at the stars where Coalition ships were now escorting captured Kythera vessels toward processing centers. "Princess, can I ask you something? Why was it so important that we stayed? Other species must have faced similar situations." Ashale was quiet for a long moment. "Captain, most civilizations in the galaxy evolved on worlds that were relatively stable and peaceful. They developed concepts of honor and duty during times of abundance and safety. But humans evolved on a world that actively tried to kill them every day." She turned to face Chen directly. "Your species learned that survival requires both the ability to destroy threats and the wisdom to protect what matters. Most species see those as contradictory impulses, but humans have made them complementary virtues." Chen nodded slowly. "So what happens now?" "Now," said Princess Ashale with a smile that somehow conveyed both innocence and ancient wisdom, "the galaxy learns what it really means to be protected by Deathworlders." 6 months later, Captain Chen received a transmission while patrolling the Outer Rim with the newly expanded Coalition fleet. The message was from Earth Command, specifically from Admiral Stone. "Sarah," his holographic image said with a mixture of exasperation and pride, "I'm pleased to inform you that you've been promoted to Admiral and given command of the Coalition Integration Project. Apparently, 42 alien species think you're some kind of tactical genius." Chen smiled at her old mentor's expression. "Sir?" "About my insubordination during the Zalani incident." "What insubordination?" Stone's expression was carefully neutral. "According to our records, you followed standing orders to protect Coalition civilian vessels under Article 7 of the Galactic Defense Treaty." "Sir, that treaty wasn't ratified until 3 months after the incident." Stone's grin was predatory. "Admiral Chen, one of the first things you'll learn about galactic politics is that sometimes history needs a little editing. Your actions retroactively justified the Coalition's most aggressive expansion of mutual defense protocols in their history." The transmission ended with Stone's laughter still echoing through the bridge. Chen turned to find her crew watching her with expressions of pride and amusement. "Ma'am," asked Commander Webb, "what are your orders for our new assignment?" Chen looked out at the stars, where human, Zalani, Altarian, and dozen other species' ships flew in perfect formation. They had come to answer a distress call and somehow ended up reshaping galactic civilization. Same as always, Commander. When people call for help, we answer. When civilians need protection, we provide it. When impossible odds threaten innocent lives, we show the galaxy what humans do best. She settled into her captain's chair as the Coalition fleet jumped to hyperspace, carrying humanity's newest lesson to the stars. Sometimes the most dangerous predators are the ones who choose to protect instead of hunt.